Good evening. This is a meeting of the Township Committee, January 20th, 2026. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Asbury Park Press, the 2 river Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk all on January 12th, 2026. Committeeman Clark. Committeewoman Kratz.
Here.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Hybel. Mayor Perry.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide defending our constitutions, freedoms, and way of life. Thank you. Our first item on tonight's agenda, we just have a listing of proclamations for the record. We have proclamation recognizing January 25th-31, 2026 as Catholic Schools Week in the Township of Middletown. We have a proclamation recognizing January 26th through 30th, 2026 as the Great Kindness Challenge of the Township in the Township of Middletown. Then we have the proclamation recognizing February 2026 as Black History Month in the Township of Middletown, and also a proclamation recognizing February 26th as Children's Dental Health Month in the Township of Middletown. At this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to approve minutes for December 15th, 2025, regular meeting.
All right, motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Heidi?
Committeewoman Kratz,
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino,
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve minutes. At this time, we have public hearing on proposed ordinances. Our first ordinance, 2026-3491, an ordinance amending Chapter 540 of the Code of the Township of Middletown governing the development standards for Block 1045, Lots 2, 3, and 4 on the Township's official tax maps.
Okay, I'm going to open up for public comment. Before I do, first of all, good evening, everybody. Good to see many of you, all of you. Good to see some of you again. I'm going to ask our township attorney, Mr. Nelson, to just give a preview of this ordinance before I open up for public comment. Mr. Nelson?
Thank you, Mayor. So by way of background, this matter arose in 2022 when a developer approached the township under threat of litigation seeking to develop 2 properties totaling 478 rental units. On Red Hill Road, does that work?
Yeah. You just moved
For the first property on Red Hill Road, they proposed 70 apartments in one structure with a density of approximately 24 units per acre. On Nut Swamp, they proposed 408 apartment units and in 6 large structures containing 68 apartments each, also at a density of approximately 24 units per acre. Under the proposed settlement that would be effectuated through this ordinance, the Red Hill Road property would be donated to the township and preserved as open space at no cost to the township. And then the Nut Swamp property would be developed with a maximum of 136 townhome units with a density of approximately 7.5 units per acre, which is less than many of the townhome communities in the township. But back to the beginning of all this. In April of 2023, the developer filed suit because the township rejected its proposals for the 478 apartment units. The township then, in June of 2023, adopted ordinance number 2023-3371, which authorized the purchase or condemnation of both properties. We sought to purchase the Red Hill Road property from the owner at that time, who was already under contract with the developer, but the developer closed with that seller. The developer had already purchased the Nut Swamp property, so they already currently own both properties. They're not contract purchasers. The developer and other developers who we're currently still in litigation with filed for preliminary injunctions to prevent the township from condemning the properties for open space purposes. The court enjoined us from that condemnation action. The township appealed that to the appellate division and eventually to the Supreme Court. all the courts held that the township cannot condemn the properties when they're subject to a builder's remedy. The township, and so while this was going on and being litigated, on March 20th of 2024, Governor Murphy signed significant amendments to the Fair Housing Act that were adopted by the legislature, with further increased the township's affordable housing obligations and expanded the powers of developers against municipalities. All legal challenges to that legislation signed by the governor in March of 2024 have failed. On 2024, the court appointed a special master, or actually they appointed a special master in 2023, and the special master in 2024 determined that Middletown has a remaining obligation of 602 more affordable units for the third housing round, and then another 346 units for the fourth housing round. That consists of the 602 units is of a total obligation for the third round of 1,026 units. We were credited for some units that have already been built. During the course of what ended up being multiple lawsuits over the last 3 years, the township hired engineers, planners, environmental scientists, seeking to find any way that it could stop the development of the site and utilize these reports to influence the special adjudicator's findings. We even had to file 2 motions and a lawsuit just to gain entry to the property for our experts to be able to do their analysis and evaluation of the conditions on the property. We inventoried every tree and shrub on the site, conducted a study of the wetlands, riparian open waters areas, and wetlands buffers, conducted a study and surveys of the steep slopes, conducted an assessment of threatened and endangered species. Everything that you could possibly think of, the township hired experts to try to address and try to determine and mitigate what could be developed on the site. In May of 2025, the court appointed special adjudicator issued a report determining that the sites are suitable for the development of 138 units, largely relying upon the arguments made by the township's professionals to reduce that from 478 to 138 units. While this was going on, we were still litigating our appeals over the condemnation. But as I had mentioned, in June 27th of 2025, the appellate division ruled against the township's ability to condemn properties while a builder's remedy is pending. We filed a petition to the New Jersey Supreme Court, which denied our certification on September 16th, 2025. The court mandated settlement conferences and mediation sessions with the special adjudicator, resulting in a settlement allowing for a maximum of 136 units solely on the Nut Swamp property, with the Red Hill site being donated to the township as open space. These negotiations further rendered extremely restricted and detailed zoning standards provided for in the ordinance before the township committee tonight. The settlement was viewed as so favorable to the township that last week, the Fair Share Housing Center actually filed a motion to oppose our settlement because they believe that over 400 units should be built on the site. There's no site plan application at this time. The sole issue and matter before the governing body tonight is an ordinance which is required under the court-entered settlement agreement between the parties that will still require a application, full and complete application be made before the planning board at some future date, which will be noticed in accordance with law for all property owners within 200 feet of the property. So this is solely on the ordinance that would allow for a maximum of 136 townhome units to be built only on the Nut Swamp site, and nothing further. This is not the time at which the traffic studies are conducted and so forth, although we did do our own studies already as part of the litigation in arguing over site suitability of the site. But all those issues and specific details will have to be addressed at the planning board when and if a site plan application is filed at a future date.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nelson. And as Brian had mentioned, obviously many of you were there when this governing body voted unanimously to try and acquire this property through the use of eminent domain. And as Brian mentioned, the court prevented us from doing that. Which is obviously incredibly disappointing to this governing body, but to all of you at the same time. I've had the fortune of sitting down with many of you to discuss this matter both on site and over the phone. And while this township committee has this question before us, this is something that I have been railing against since 2019. That the Mount Laurel Doctrine, which was then further enhanced by the governor through the legislature, only put a further burden on this. This is not something that this governing body likes. We've been pushing back on this for quite some time to try and stop the Mount Laurel Doctrine. In fact, it's being heard in federal court as we speak. The Mount Laurel Doctrine in and of itself is being questioned in federal court. This is one of those unfunded mandates and unfair burdens that is placed on municipalities through this Mount Laurel Doctrine. So I'll open it up for public comment. I'm going to call on you one at a time. This body will not be able to answer any of the questions with regard to site plans because there is no site plan. There is no current application before the township currently on a site plan for this site. So you may have seen maps and things of that nature. Those are not part of an application. All questions that our professionals will have to look at. They will issue engineering reports. The township will require traffic engineers to go out and evaluate, civil engineers to understand the impact of the culverts that are on that property. All of these things have to be examined. So this township committee is unable to answer those questions. I don't like the fact that the township has to address this question today. I think the planning board should have that ability first and foremost, but New Jersey law does not allow that to occur. The township committee has to deal with this matter through the court order within a certain number of days. That timeline is going up. And as you heard Mr. Nelson say, fair share housing, which those of you who do not know what fair share housing is, back in the 70s when Mount Laurel was created, the Mount Laurel Doctrine was created, and all municipalities were required to deal with the affordable housing numbers. Fair Share Housing is a nonprofit organization, okay? And I'll let you do your own research on them. I've spoken out plenty about this process. I've op-eds, conversations, meetings, all that I have to get this out there, petitions, and I hope many of you, if not all of you, had signed the petition that went out 2 years ago when the governor and this question was posed before the legislature to oppose it. Because it can't just be when it's in your backyard. It's all or nothing. It's all or nothing. So we can't like it when we want and not like it when it suits us. So though all those things occurred, all those things happened, and here's where we are at this point, where this court has decided through its special adjudicator that 138 units is what is allowed to go there. The planning board process will allow you as residents of this town, and I encourage every single one of you to attend those meetings that right here in this room they will have to deal with when it comes to all the questions, all the concerns. You go back there and it's special. You see these trees that date back. We're celebrating the 250th birthday of America this year, and there's trees that are 3 and 4 times that age that are back there. There's no doubt about it. So tonight, if you have questions about traffic, if you have questions about engineering, if you have questions, the fire department's going to have to review. As I mentioned, T&M, who is the appointed planning board engineer, will provide their report, and all of those are made available through the application process that this developer, if and when they submit an application, all that will be answered at those times, where you'll have the ability to look at those professionals, ask them questions, demand things. I'm not a traffic engineer. I'm not an environmental engineer. I don't know those answers. What I can tell you tonight is that this township committee has Fair Share Housing opposing this project because they do not believe that there are enough homes being put on this property. You're going to shake your head and think that that's outrageous. Yep. Mary, I see you shaking your head yes. My point being is that if this governing body does not come in and move forward, we are going to be out of compliance with that court order. And they can go back and they can choose the legal remedy that they would like to decide, well, Middletown's not in compliance, so guess what? Now we're going to sue. And what happens then with Fair Share saying that they're opposed to this process? That's a gamble. It's a big gamble. So with that, I'll open it up for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to make a public comment may do so. We just ask that you state your name for the record. Roy, come on up.
With all our guys.
Roy Jennings.
Roy Jennings,
There you go.
West Nut Swamp Road.
Go ahead.
With all our players, the fire marshal, the engineering department, say they do come up and say, there's no way. You got to do this, you got to do that. Will that be enforced, or can Adoni come back and say, no, or the judge say, no? If what you guys say has to be, is that how it will be?
Our engineer
Yeah,
through T&M, that's who handles our planning board applications. They will do an engineering report. Our own planner will do her own report. The township will require traffic engineers that we hire, not that they hire, but that they pay for. I want to be clear about that. They
Okay.
will have to pay an escrow. The taxpayers of Middletown are not on the hook for that. They will have to pay for that, but we get to choose who they are. They will all file reports. They will all provide all the members of the planning board with reports about their findings. That the planning board, their experts, and the planning board will be here to hear that testimony. Once that is done, the members of the planning board then get the ability to ask their questions of the professionals and how they would address certain issues. The public gets to then come up
Okay.
and provide questions and comments on the professionals. And again, as I mentioned, I encourage every single one of you and more to be here to ask their professionals how they will handle the situations and issues that you all see with this project.
Okay.
But as I mentioned, there is no application, so we here tonight cannot make comment on that. But all those engineers will have, and professionals will have to create reports that will be available to you and available to the public and available to the applicant, so that they will have to answer to the concerns and questions and feedback that all of our professionals give.
Okay, I only have two more questions.
Yes, sir.
Is Homedale allowed to be a part of this? Because the traffic's going to engage them also.
I'll have Brian answer that question.
So, good question. So Homedale has sought to intervene in this matter 2 times with the court and took it all the way to the appellate division and lost on all those occasions. The court would not allow Homedale to intervene. Homedale has filed another motion to intervene again last week.
Okay.
So maybe the 4th time will be a charm.
Okay.
But the court determined that they don't have, but at the point at which there's an actual site plan application, they would have an opportunity, as would anybody else, to address concerns regarding the site plan application, those particulars at that time. But the court held that during the pendency of the builder's remedy litigation, they did not have the right to intervene. However, and it should be pointed out, that the Fair Share Housing Center has an automatic Supreme Court imposed order right to intervene. So the Fair Share Housing Center is an intervener by Supreme Court order, just so everybody understands the how the scales are placed against the municipalities here. And it should also just be pointed out that the legal standard, so that the township committee's obligation is to create under the law what's known as a realistic opportunity for the development of these affordable units. That doesn't mean they necessarily get built or not. That's up to the developer. But for example, we had a litigation matter going back a number of years ago for the townhomes that are being built behind the circus clown site now. We had a zone that under court order for up to 400 units, they ended up only developing 320 once it was fully engineered, because they realized they couldn't address stormwater issues and other things of that nature. So the the developer here, when they present a site plan application, it's a different standard than when they file a builder's remedy lawsuit. For the builder's remedy lawsuit, all they have to do is provide conceptual plans and cursory information, quite frankly, which we fought them on in the site suitability aspect of this case, which we used our engineers and our planners and our environmental scientists to push back on and say, look, you haven't thought about all these issues. And that, frankly, greatly influenced the special adjudicator that's appointed by the court, which is why we got the reduction down to the number of units that we got from what they were proposing initially, because they didn't obviously want to spend all that money. But I'll tell you what, the township committee here spent that money to push this number down, to eliminate one site entirely, and then to push this number down to where it is on the remaining site.
So Red Hill Road project is kind of the sacrificial lamb. You know, let's give it to Middletown, they'll be happy, and we can get our 136 or 139.
I wouldn't refer to, we were able to push back on there principally because of the steep slopes.
Yeah.
There were shockingly were 0 wetlands on that property, believe it or not. But the steep slopes were significant. And so on the basis of our analysis and our surveys of the steep slopes on that site, we were able to convince the special adjudicator that they could only build a handful of units on that site. And so they basically said, hey, what if we, if we reduce the number, because the special adjudicator said they could have done 138. We knocked them down. They could have done a dozen or so on that site as well. But we said, like, we're not, going to go for anything there. You donate that to us, to open space, and then we can talk about the other site and reduce these numbers more if you agree to these restrictive zoning standards. If you look at this ordinance, it is more detailed than probably any zoning ordinance you've ever seen, because we put a lot of restrictions on there and increased setbacks and other rules and how large retaining walls could be to keep them out of the steep slopes, and a whole plethora of standards in there that you don't typically find such detail on.
So you will have environmentalists on your end really involved. I mean, wildlife, endangered species.
Yes.
It won't be like 2 days, hey, I didn't see the bird.
No.
Okay.
They will be out there.
Yeah, and we had to get a court order to get our experts on the property to do all those observations and to do their own measurements of the wetlands. They took an inventories of every tree on the property. We have an inventory of every single tree over a certain diameter on the property, and so I mean, we have very detailed analysis.
Because I mean, that property has a lot of history. So I'm sure when they start digging, they're going to dig up a lot of things they wish they didn't dig up.
At least you didn't say bodies, Roy.
You never know. All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Roy. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Joseph Siclari, 134 Willow Grove Drive, Lincroft. I had prepared a whole bunch of stuff, but Mr. Nelson answered quite a bit of that already. But you did say rental units. Are those apartments going to be strictly rental, or are they for purchase?
No, these are for purchase. These are townhomes. Their initial proposal was for rental units. These are townhomes.
Okay.
These are not rental units. They proposed initially their 478 unit proposal on the 2 properties was all rentals initially.
All right. Is the school system going to be taken into account when we talk about this?
Well, that's an issue, but that would be considered before the planning board. It's something that can be raised at that time, but legally through the builder's remedy process, that's not a legal consideration under the builder's remedy, under the Mount Laurel doctrine.
Is it also possible now that we're no longer in litigation, I think?
On this site, we are not currently in, well, the Fair Share, well, now we have motions from Fair Share Housing Center and Homedale get filed last week, but so.
We could be headed back.
We could be, we're going to be back in court with them on the site, but we don't currently, I'll say it's stayed, if you will, would be the right way to refer to it with respect to the Adonis.
Can the township then publish the findings that you have found so far on the property, or at least make them available online so that we can read them?
Yes, we can provide those reports.
Okay, when?
Anytime.
When the planning board application is made, all those reports will be available online.
No, but we want to see something, the preliminary reports that have already been done up.
Other ones, yeah, you can.
Yeah,
As
the
long as
reports,
Brian-
the reports that we were filed with the court are all public record.
All right, how do we go about,
We
can
we
get-
can work with our communications team to make sure that they get posted.
okay,
Yeah, if it was filed with the court, it's
Public
it can be
record.
public.
all right. Okay,
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexis L. Gazarovski of the Law Offices of Gazarovski and Holobinko. I'm appearing today on behalf of the Jennings. We just heard from Mr. Jennings and possibly a group of other objectors who are challenging this ordinance. And I just have two quick questions. I'm not sure if it was Mr. Nelson or Mr. Perry or Mayor Perry who indicated that this ordinance came to fruition now because you're under a court order, you have a time frame. Is that correct? A
Correct.
specific time frame.
I'm
But
sorry, you're representing, or are you speaking as a member of the public?
I'm an objector attorney asking a question.
I didn't,
Yeah, no, if I wasn't
I
clear.
didn't hear you. So I just wanted to make,
I wanted to make sure,
Go
you
ahead.
want me to restate it for the record?
correct. We had to do this within a certain time period, correct?
Okay, because I also heard you mention that there is now the federal court case pending challenging Mount Laurel
Correct.
in its entirety. So my question is, at any point did the township either ask the court for an extension or that this matter be stayed pending the decision of that federal court case?
That federal court case was in court following this. Go ahead, Brian.
I mean, that matter's been pending for a long time. I mean, we've asked the court for every extension, every delay. We've filed, I mean, dozens of motions. We filed suits. I mean, you could look up the dockets here, attorney.
it's
There's
bounced
multiple
out,
dockets, there's dozens of motions. I mean, there were dozens and dozens of motions. The court, it will not be giving us any more time. This is a third round case. Most of the cases now are fourth round cases, not third round cases. This was filed in 2023. So the court's definitely not giving us more time. And that litigation matter has been filed since 2024, since the law was signed by Governor Murphy in March of 2024. And it's gone nowhere thus far, but it's still pending. And that challenge is more specific to, it's an equal protection argument relating more to urban municipalities and their fair share and whether they should have an obligation versus suburban municipalities. So even if that case were to prevail, the only impact would be, it wouldn't impact this specific case. It could impact our overall obligations to some extent, maybe, most optimistically 75 to 100 unit change in our obligations. So that's not going to have an impact in this immediate litigation.
I guess my first question is, just to be clear, so it's fair to state that despite this case pending, the township has not made an application to stay the township's obligations to go through with this order in this ordinance pending the resolution of the current Mount Laurel case in federal, which
Well,
is a yes or
this
no.
case is stayed right now anyway, so pending the outcome of this, so. it's
No, I'm
already
saying
stayed.
staying the township's
The
obligations.
court's not going to allow us to stay it because of some case that is completely speculative in federal court. That's not
I
going to happen.
understand, Mr. Nelson. I'm just asking for a simple yes. So the answer is no such application or request has been made of the court.
Not specific to that case, no.
Okay, thank you. And I also appreciate the board attorney and mayor's detailed explanation of these underlying litigations and the tremendous efforts made apparently by the township. I'm wondering, while we understand that court records or public records, not everyone has access to e-courts. It's limited if you're a member of the public. But in addition to to be clear, the prior findings and the preliminary reports were not published through the website of the township available to the public. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. Are they on our planning website? Okay.
Okay. And I know the township said they would do that.
You did just ask for that, and that's what we said we would publish, yeah.
Right, just to be clear, but also at any point was on the public record, was where the public made aware of this pending litigation and advised that they could have accessibility to the non-privileged litigation file?
Fine.
Well, the public was definitely aware of it because we adopted an ordinance to condemn the property, and that ordinance in 2023 and another ordinance that passed in 2024 specifically cited this litigation, and certain members of the public that are here tonight actually came out and advocated for those ordinances, and when the township adopted them. But anybody can file an Oprah request for any public records. But if we spent all day publishing every single potentially public record, that we'd be able to do nothing else.
And the simple answer could have been no, okay? But so that was not, so is the township now going to give the public accessibility to that litigation file?
That's what I just said too.
No, what you said was the preliminary reports. So the litigation file, because we've been given many reasons for why this ordinance must go through based on Mr. Nelson's opinion and an explanation of what happened in the court below. So my question is, as to the non-privileged documents in that file, in case the public has any further inquiry to read into, what Mr. Nelson has said, will those be made available to the public?
Brian, are those able to?
If anybody files an Oprah request for the records, we'll provide them, and I think we'll put those they have. I mean, we've responded to dozens upon dozens of Oprah requests, and they've been provided, and they're on the township's portal, right, Heidi? Okay, they're just for the requesters that have requested them. Okay, yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way to the back here, and then I'm gonna come over to you, Frank, and then I'll come right here, okay? So, 1, 2, 3. What? Okay. 4 and 5. How are you today?
Second Bloom, Cypress Neck Road, Lincroft. When we're talking about the Red Hill property, are we talking about the property that's adjacent to Sloan Kettering?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Where that old
And was it a condemned
house
that was there?
that we torn down.
And a deep
Yes,
ravine?
yes, ma'am.
So that was a sacrifice on their part to us to give us that property back as opposed to build on the flatlands of it?
Well, they owned that property. So they wanted to build, and what the township had been approached was for 70 apartments on that property. We didn't need the fire department and EMS service to tell us that that was a really incredibly unsafe idea, because the preliminary drawings of that had, in the event of an incident, because they had a pool in the back of the property, and to have a fire department not be able to stage in the back of a building like that because of the steep cliff, or an EMS service to have to run into a building upstairs, across a lobby, downstairs to get to the back of a pool to get a drowning victim, potentially, hypothetically, that was a non-starter from the beginning.
Okay, so that's a safety issue, but
Absolutely.
but what, at some point,
The-
the
the-
township will tell us what they think they may be able to do with that property.
The fire department has a review committee that evaluates all applications. So for turn radius, for access points, all those, they will have to review and make comments and submit those, which are publicly available to not only the planning board members, but to the public as well, of the safety concerns that the fire department would have on all applications, including this one.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Frank.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Gerard Godlewski. I live at 72 Cranberry Court in Red Bank, actually Middletown. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak about this issue. It's very important for me, about affordable housing and all of that. I wanted to ask, I've been fighting for the Highlands development in West Orange for years. And it's just so dangerous. I applaud you. You've done an excellent job. I've read everything about it. There's the big fear of the developer's remedies. So there's really nothing that you can do in the fight. But I wanted to ask you, I've had success with the soil coalition. The DP doesn't want to help the municipalities because they know all about the lawsuit. The Soil Coalition could come in, if you invite them, do an overview. They have the power over certain things. So that was the only luck that I had. And also regarding the affordable housing, I'm a member of the NAACP. I'm a historian for the Afro-American History and Genealogical Society. And I believe that affordable housing is, it doesn't help. You know, what's in place with Mount Laurel does not help people that are in need. It's modern day redlining. It's taking the people who are in most need, getting rid of them from, you know, a nice piece of property. But then they get housing all over New Jersey. So you're taking possibly an 80-year-old grandmother, giving her affordable housing. You're plucking her out of Montclair and putting her on the next thing available, and that may be in Somerset County. You're taking people away from their loved ones, their social fabric, anyone who can help them. So if you do have a committee to fight this, I would like to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Right here. Yep. How are you today?
How you doing?
How are you?
Jack Leary, 452 Everett Road, right on the corner of West Nut Swamp and Everett. I have a protest petition to just submit.
You can just give it right to Shannon after you're done making your comments, or now.
Understand, I appreciate the clarity. Just to confirm kind of what happened, the court ordered the special adjudicator to settle the case out of court and find a conclusion. And the special adjudicator said 136 units.
So the court hires a special adjudicator. They select one. Most affordable housing Mount Laurel cases go before a single judge. They're normally, that's what they do, is they handle these situations. So the special adjudicator is brought in rather than constantly going into court and case management and all those legal terms that Brian was going through. The special adjudicator is normally a retired or licensed planner in some way, shape, or form, or other profession like that. They are responsible for bringing both parties together by court order, by the order of the judge, to work out between the two entities what it is that can go there. The special adjudicator, because they are of that background, they look at all the reports that the municipality has, all the reports that the applicant or plaintiff would have, and they force both parties to come together.
So
They're a glorified mediator.
got it. Okay. It was a helpful overview from the town's attorney, but just to kind of level set the town, it made it sound like the town exhausted all appeals and kind of legal options to block any development in this property. That's fair to say?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As a property owner within 200 feet of the direct impact to these
Yep.
lots, I don't appreciate the kind of lack of transparency to date. I relied on some vigilant neighbors to kind of keep me informed, but going forward, I'd like to second the request for all the information you guys have learned to date. But I'd also like to better understand how you're going to keep us informed. I have 2 toddlers that are running down this road every day, and
the applicant will be required by law to provide any neighbor within 200 feet of this property.
so that's the Donnie.
Correct. We supply them with a list. They will request that list. Our tax assessor, I believe, supplies them with that list. Then Adoni, whatever, they have to then prove to the township that they sent that notice out within a certain number of days of the planning board meeting.
And that's like by mail.
Correct. Certified mail.
Okay. The planning board meetings seem like the principal venue for us to come
Correct.
understand the findings of these experts that have to sign off on these reports. is this the same planning board that met a week or two ago that was not open to public comment, or is there? a
It's the
different-
same, it's the same board. The difference is when you do a master plan consistency review, there's no public comment on that because they are weighing in on an ordinance that the township committee is required to pass and hold a public hearing on. So that's what is happening right now. The planning board will, when an application comes in, when it is reviewed, it's deemed complete, and it goes through that entire process, which is incredibly lengthy. We make certain requirements, as I've mentioned in the past, of certain professionals. All those things will happen, and when the meeting is scheduled, that is when neighbors are notified within 200 feet of the property.
Got it. Okay, understood.
So there's no public hearing component to a consistency review.
Got it. So the plan was first, the original master plan was signed off.
Mhm.
The settlement went into effect. In order to comply with the settlement, you needed to amend the master plan, which was done at the last planning board.
Correct.
And at this meeting,
They just did a consistency review.
sorry, it was deemed consistent with
The master plan.
that the court ordered, or that you signed off on.
Correct.
That wasn't which one?
The court ordered the settlement.
Okay,
Okay, so the master plan consistency review, which is held by the planning board, it comes in sequence. So the township committee introduces an ordinance. At the next planning board meeting, the planning board then discusses amongst its members, is it consistent or not with the master plan? The planning board then determines yes or no. If it's a yes, it comes back to the township committee, which is where we are today, where the township committee chooses to yes or no on that ordinance, but it has to go before the planning board. What the next step to that is, because again, there is no application currently for this property. So to Mr. Nelson's point, the preliminary plans that are submitted is what is required of a builder's remedy suit. Okay, and that is the basics of what they have to do. All they have to do pretty much, other than file a lawsuit against us. So the planning board, if and when this moves forward tonight, because no vote has obviously been taken, because we have to have a public hearing on that, that then moves to a pending site plan application, which will then have to come in, be reviewed by our professionals. All the professionals that we require will have to weigh in on that, and then notice goes out to the residents.
has there been any dialogue with Adani about a potential site plan in the near future, or any like timelines that?
We are not aware of any timeline on applications. They can file it at any time.
Last question is, how can we, I guess, stalk the town's website, but how can we be informed and stay up to date on the planning board sessions when these experts will be visiting the exact property? Specific concerns I have are my well, my driveways, and this traffic study. I just want to,
Well, I would say this, just like I don't comment on, and no member of the township committee comments on pending planning board applications, or potential applications, I should say. I would caution any type of discussions with professionals while they're on site, just because you will absolutely, if and when there is a lawsuit pending the decision of the planning board, there could be reason that you or any member of the public would be called in for some type of deposition potentially. What you want to wait for is for when that application comes in and you are noticed, that is when the expert reports will be provided and shown to the public.
At what point is that? When we get called in?
At the site plan hearing. That all happens in the public,
Okay.
in the public domain.
And those meetings would be announced on the.
You,
agenda?
you yourself will
Yeah.
receive a certified letter letting you know that when, where, and what time that meeting is taking place.
Thank you for the transparency and appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Hold on, Roy. Before I come back to anyone else, these two ladies I know wanted to come up. So I'll just, you can both come up, but just speak one at a time. Just say your name and just speak one at a time so we can kind of have that differential in the record, okay?
Sophia Rassiopi.
Olivia Rassiopi.
We both live on West Knot Swamp Road, a place that has been our homes for majority of our lives. We grew up on this street and our family built our home here with the intention of creating a safe, meaningful, and lasting place for my siblings and I to grow up. This was not a random choice of location, and we choose this area carefully, drawn not only to the beautiful homes in the neighborhood, but also to the natural scenery, open land, and sense of peace that makes this part of town so special. Because of this deep personal connection, I am extremely upset and concerned about the proposed plans to develop this land. The nature that surrounds our street is not just empty space. It is one of the last remaining pieces of natural environment in our town. Destroying it would permanently change the character of the neighborhood and take away something that cannot be replaced once it is gone.
And just state your name again, okay?
Olivia Rassiopi.
Go ahead.
This land provides more than visual beauty. It contributes to the quality of life for residents, it supports local wildlife, and it offers a sense of calm and community that development cannot replicate. I strongly believe that preserving what little nature we have left is vital for both current residents and future generations. I urge you guys to reconsider these plans and to take into account the voices of those who live here and have built their lives around this environment. Protecting this land means more than protecting the heart and identity of our town.
We don't.
Hang on, they're not done yet.
No, we don't necessarily have any questions.
We
We
just
kind of just
want
wanted to speak on behalf of.
Well, first of all, I just want to say this. I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but because that's just rude. But what I want to say is excellent job, number one. You both deserve a lot of credit for getting up. It's not easy to speak in front of a crowd of people, but I just want to give you absolute kudos for being brave enough and passionate enough to get up and speak. And I thank you for your very, very well delivered comments. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go. Yep. No. I'm gonna go right here. Yep. Come forward. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just right after you, I'm gonna go right here and then right in the back. Okay.
Hi, my name's Sean McGrath. I live on 460 Everett Road. I guess my biggest disappointment is that none of us knew. Like, I didn't even know they were condos. Like, the settlement, I read the 57-page settlement agreement and it says apartments. These are condos now?
When they come with an application, we will know exactly what they are.
So they could still be apartments.
They're townhomes. These are
Right,
townhomes. These are
but
not apartments.
rentals, or am I to live there? Am I renting
They're
this?
for sale townhomes.
All right. But so I guess listen, I've lived here for 25 years. I always kind of knew that was going to be developed back there. I mean, I was hoping it wouldn't be. And, I applaud you guys doing like the eminent domain. But, we were left in the dark. And you just said something that if someone talked to one of the traffic study engineers, they could be deposed. So I'm not saying I did that, but I know this.
Not on the record.
No, not on the record. I didn't. But I am I'm running on the assumption that this 138 development plan was in effect, I'm going to say at least 8 to 10 months before you guys all signed the settlement.
No.
It had to be.
Well,
I'm not saying,
on,
again,
hold on.
I'm not saying that
Hang
I
on,
saw
hang on.
it from someone showed me something on a tablet
Sir.
that proposed it. I'm not saying that, but.
Well, let me just say this. Number one, that is not correct. That is, but you can sit there and
Yeah, but so.
hang on.
There was some.
Hang on.
There was some lead-in time, right? The 138. So when Can you
No.
tell me when you learned of the 138 proposals? Not when you signed it, but when you learned of it. Like, so they said they came to you guys and said, you know what, we're thinking about doing 100.
Okay, going back to what Mr. Nelson was saying,
Right,
okay, because he said it pretty well and explained it pretty well.
right.
There is not I'm going to come to you and tell you this is what we will do. This is a court-appointed special adjudicator. That is who handles this.
No, that's fine. So when did the special court adjudicator send you guys the plan for 138?
Go ahead,
said
Brian.
at the beginning of this meeting, in May of 2025, this special adjudicator issued their report stating that the site was suitable for the development of 138
Okay,
units.
no, that's in May.
Which, by the way, our ordinance doesn't allow for that many, and they would have also, the adjudicator would have also allowed for development on the other site too. So, and we were in active litigation through September until our petition for certification got denied by the Supreme Court on September 16th of 2025. But the court requires you to sit down. And I think I want to make an important point, because this is a lot of questions have come up about special adjudicators. Well, because of political correctness, these used to be called special masters, but they changed it to adjudicator because of political correctness. But in reality, the word master is much more applicable, because the powers of this individual, they're acting basically for the judge, and not basically, they are acting on behalf of the court. They were an appointed master by the court. So the judge is not a professional planner. The special adjudicator is a professional planner that's appointed by the court to provide the judge guidance as to where things should be headed. And what happens is the adjudicator issues the report to everybody, including the Fair Share Housing Center. Then, a month or two later, the court calls everybody in and says, okay, what are we doing, everybody? Are you going to trial? Are you going to, take a shot on this? Or are you going to talk and try to figure something out?
Okay.
And so that's what happens. And that process, the adjudicator's report wasn't even issued until May.
All right, so let's say May. All right,
So,
let's say May.
yeah.
So you guys had known about the 138 units from this adjudicator, right? From the special master in May.
That's what the special master's findings were.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my problem is,
But
no, and I understand. Listen, no.
And that's not public at that point.
No, but
Yeah.
instead of us learning about, so I live on this property. I go out and I try to stay involved and understand what's going on with it. And they've tried to develop this several times over. I mean, I'm not saying it was official sold, but there's engineers running through there for the past 25 years like crazy. There was maybe a 13 house development, but that's not the point. The point is, at some point prior to you guys signing the settlement, how about talk to the people? I understand you might not be able to change a thing, but how about come and talk to the people who are most affected by this? My house will be passed
I was
by hundreds of cars. No one knew any.
Court Rule 408, settlement discussions are confidential. I would lose my law license if we talked about it. We
and you
can't, when we're in settlement negotiations, they're not public.
The actual settlement.
So,
Have us in and say, let's do a workshop. Let's figure out what can and can't be done. And you could do something official, but get our input. This was signed, and a month later, we all learned about it.
First of all, Mr. Nelson just explained that he would lose his law license over settlement discussions being disclosed to the public. That is not allowed.
So you can't
Hold on.
get input. So let me this process doesn't
Wait,
allow input from the people.
Sir,
Yeah.
this can be a conversation. It doesn't, okay?
Okay.
Second of all, I had conversations with several residents that are sitting here, after this occurred, okay? After this occurred.
Before you sign the settlement.
No.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Before you
We definitely spoke before anything happened. There's no doubt in my mind. Going back several conversations, including an elaboration about how the process goes. Number two, you're saying have a workshop meeting and discuss what settlement terms are going to be. If I could ask for a count of hands, if somebody wanted
Not what I'm asking.
if somebody wanted to put 50 units, how many people would say that that's okay?
No, and it's not that. No.
Because you're not going to get a single. But you're not.
I'm saying
It's not.
listen, you're doing the proposals to put parking on the south side and listen, we're just upset because we got no input. So like when we came to this planning board meeting and people were chirping, saying, because that's the first we've heard of any of this. I mean, I hadn't even seen the settlement. So I walked in here and people were showing it to me. I mean, so I'm not saying, how about when the settlement was done, then we get a notice or something like that? Or you put it on your website. Mary had to do it. She had a request for information. None of us had seen it prior to the planning board meeting. None of us. And so conversations happened. You guys just knew this before signing it. And I understand that there was limited information you could give us, but be transparent. That's what everybody is upset about here. And I have no faith going forward that it's going to be transparent. And I get it. It has to be developed. You guys fought it. I applaud that. What we're asking for is just as much transparency as this impacts all of us. And I understand that we may not be able, hold on, we may not be able to change anything, but at least get our input so we feel like we're part of this, right? Because I've had no input.
Okay, and I understand that. So allow me to respond.
Okay.
That's what the planning board process is for.
It's already baked in the cake. Okay.
You can say that, and that's a quick, nice line. But excuse me. Yeah,
I know you did.
You're absolutely correct. I did. But what I would say is the public comment process has to happen when there is an application. What are you commenting on? You can't comment today. I can't comment on a single thing that is going to happen there because I don't know what is going to happen there. You don't know what's going to.
There's a 57-page document that you signed that lays out exactly what Donnie's going to do.
I would encourage you to go to a planning board meeting then, sir, because site plan processes are extremely, extremely complicated. As a former member of the planning board, they are way more complicated than you are giving them credit for, because there are dozens and dozens and dozens of reports that will have to be done, that it is improper and ill-advised to make comments on something that you have had not one professional provide you with information. I would love to see a traffic report. I'd love to see one. I can't wait to see it.
There's a 57-page document that you signed. I promise you, as long as Adoni stays to pretty much the hue of this document, nothing changes.
That's not true.
All right. Well, I'm just going to, I mean,
that's not true.
It's the transparency. Again, I know it's not going to be stopped, and I'm not saying it should.
But what I'm saying is, what you're saying is an opinion. It's not facts, and you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to the facts of how a process works. And what I'm trying to be clear about is you're saying that you want to make comments and give feedback. That's exactly what the planning board process is for.
It's too late, and you know it. But you know what?
Just to be clear to all the residents, I do not know that, and I do not agree with that comment at all. You absolutely have the right to go to a planning board meeting and give it. And you can disagree with that, sir, but I am saying it is factually inaccurate. It is not the way it works. I would encourage all of you to go to a planning board meeting for another application and see how the process works, because I've sat in planning board meetings for hours and hours and hours on end, hearing different experts provide testimony as to why something works and something doesn't work. So to sit there and say that this is done, factually inaccurate, because nothing can be done when you don't have an application. You can disagree with me, sir. It's just not the way the process works. Thank you very much for your comments, sir. Correct. You cannot have, so the application will come in. The township, I believe, has 45 days to determine its completeness. It's a completeness review. The township will then determine what experts are required for them to post an escrow for. The township will then have their experts evaluate all the documentation that's provided, do their own research on the property, and then at that time, when they can do that, then it can go before a planning board meeting. But until that point,
we get the notice as
before
soon as the application is submitted to the planning board.
You do not get a notice when the application. Yeah, come up to the microphone just for the record here. Just real quick.
I just want to be crystal clear.
Just state your name again.
Jack Leary.
Okay.
Lincroft.
Notices to the neighbors go out 10 days, at least 10 days prior to the meeting. So you'll get a notice a week to 10 days in advance of their hearing date.
Okay. So application submitted. You guys set a planning date.
We determine it's complete. They go through.
Which could take 45 days.
Yeah, you probably will in something this big. Once they get a letter saying your application is now complete, they will, and then we let them know the next available hearing date. Then they'll get it. They'll send out a notice prior to that hearing date.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I look forward to hearing from you 10 days after.
You'll be hearing from the planning board.
10 days 10 days before.
Before we call the next resident mayor.
Yes.
What I want to make sure that we point out is the settlement is a maximum number of units. So we would encourage you to come to the planning board because the number of units that the planning board may, whatever that vote is, approve, can be less than that number, but it can't be more. And and there's been prior developments where the actual developable number of units has been less. And that is, and so we encourage you to go to those hearings. We encourage you to go and cross-examine all the professionals to try to tamp down that number based as much as you can. That's a maximum number, and if and when that comes to the planning board, we need your input. We need your representation.
Yeah. I'm going right here and then I'm coming to you, sir.
You have to come to the microphone, please.
You want me to go to somebody else?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, all comments just about this ordinance. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. How are you tonight?
Greg Jablonski, I live on Willow Grove. I have a question. If I just ask and I go home and I don't have an answer, I'm probably going to get lit up about it. The 138 townhomes, that's obviously seems to be the agreed upon path forward.
136.
136, sorry. I can't believe I messed that up already. There was a mention, and again, maybe I misheard this, that there's a fair share housing that's opposed to the agreed upon number of homes that are currently being built on this property.
Correct. They want more.
They want more. Does that pull from the 136 or does that potentially increase the number that is
It increases the
potentially?
total number.
Increases the total number, which
Okay.
increases the number of affordables.
So when do we find out about that? Or like, what's the process of that? So
Brian?
We have the hearing date is scheduled for the 30th of this month, I believe, for that motion. So they filed a motion to try to reopen the case and to get more units on the site. They do not believe that the proposed settlement is providing the fair share of affordable housing on the site. They believe that the original proposal for 478 units would more adequately provide a fair share of housing on the site. So, and I caution everybody, and we have objectors counsel in here. The reason why we have a builder's remedy suit at the Circus Liquor site right now is because people came out and objected to the commercial development that was proposed there. And that delayed that project into COVID, and the commercial redeveloper pulled out. So now we have another lawsuit there where a developer wants to build 1,000 homes. And so, be careful what you wish for sometimes when you object to these things. When we get a settlement that is as good as you could probably get, and that's why Fair Share is opposing it. And then you can end up with significantly more if you prevail on an objection. So I always say, be careful what you wish for. That's not that you shouldn't. You should certainly come out and cross-examine the professionals that present at the planning board hearings, and there's ample opportunity to do that at those hearings, where they have to fully engineer plans. Like I said before, the standard for filing a builder's remedy is much lower than the standard. And when we bring professionals in for depositions in builder's remedy cases, they always say, oh, we'll address that at site plan. Oh, we'll address that at site plan. Oh, we'll address that at site plan. That's their answer 90% of the time when we're deposing professionals in builder's remedy cases, because that's the forum where those questions get addressed. We try to get as much of those details out up in front before the township has to make a determination as to what is realistic zoning for the development of affordable housing, which the township is obligated under Supreme Court precedent and multiple statutes under the Fair Housing Act principally to provide that fair share, which requires the township to zone for enough to create the realistic opportunity. Fair Share is saying that, well, 7.5 units per acre does not create a realistic opportunity. We're saying it does. They're going to want to go back and have 24 units per acre. And they'll say, well, that creates enough financial incentive for the developer to build a sufficient number of affordable housing units, not 7.5 units per acre. So that is the debate that, they're going to have. They're going to present to the court. They're going to try to reopen the litigation to try to get more units. And so that is, that's the risk there.
If permissible by council at the next township committee meeting, that following a decision by the court on fair shares. If he's legally allowed to do so, I'll ask him to provide an update on that. Thank you. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm just trying to keep track in my own head of who I said could come up. Yes, sir. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Rich Bonner, Cypress Neck Road. So of the 136, we don't know how many are going to be Mount Laurel, or are all 136?
20% of them.
20%.
Yeah.
And you're saying this is going to be a townhouse development?
Yes, sir.
So there'll be a homeowners association. What cost to the township are those low income when those people start defaulting on that property? And can they afford the HOA?
Tone, you want to take that?
That's like a loaded question. The law is very funny.
pretty good
in
one.
this area that the state requires that the homeowners association fees be the same for affordable housing occupants as they are for the market rate unit occupants, which makes no sense, but that's the way it works. So they have to set the homeowners association.
It joins a
rate.
club of other
Yeah,
not making sense rules, but go ahead.
It's totally nonsense. They have to set those association rates low enough so that those affordable housing unit occupants can still afford their mortgage. The problem with that is that there's no rule about how often and by how much those fees can be increased. So it usually works out great for year one, maybe even year two. When you get into year 3 and 4 and the association starts jacking up their rates, suddenly the occupants of the affordable units can't pay it anymore, and they start defaulting. And we've had it happen. We haven't had a ton of it, but we've had it happen in Laurel Green, which is the development on Laurel Avenue. You've probably driven past. We've had several units in there. I know our neighboring town of Tinton Falls has had huge problems with that. So it does become an issue for those occupants of those affordable units over time.
When they default, does it have to then another Mount Laurel person goes into that property?
Yeah,
it
they're
does.
deed-
Doesn't
they're
get
deed
upscaled?
There's a deed restriction that it has to remain affordable for 30 years, but that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is what happens in between.
Mhm.
If they are forced out of their unit, it gets foreclosed on, then you have to hope another buyer comes along. We've actually had cases where the township has gone in and bought the unit back, and we held on to it. We had to pay the association fees for a couple months until we found a buyer for it.
So there is a cost to the town.
There is a cost to the township, yes.
Something to consider.
Absolutely. No, it's a good
And
good
then-
question.
If you decide not to accept this ordinance tonight, we automatically are in default with the
Brian?
lawsuit?
I'll allow Brian to.
Yes,
answer
the
that question.
township would be in default, and I'm sure the judge would be calling us in Monday morning.
But we still have fair housing coming after us to try and increase this number.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
sir.
still out, they're still floating out
And,
there.
and what fight do we have in us to stop them?
Well,
Well,
Brian, Brian will
I mean,
handle
we're,
that.
yeah, we are opposing their motion, for sure. I mean, it's ironic that they are taking actions to secure more units, but at the same time potentially delaying, the development of units. So, I don't want to, I don't want to reveal, show the whole hand because they're probably watching the video tonight. So we'll address that when we're before the court, so.
So our best defense is to go to this planning board meeting and get the planning board to tell them you can't build 136.
Yeah, you're, the best advice I can give you is all the questions, comments, concerns, feedback that you have. Absolutely, at the time of the planning board meeting is your time to tell them what issues you have. Before I go to any repeat, is there any member of the public that has not spoken that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am, come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Marone, Pelican Road. With the affordable housing, does the township require to have bus service for the people that cannot afford to live in these properties, to go to grocery stores, go to schools?
No.
And affordable housing, you don't have to have bus service in that area?
Now, it's one of the reasons we never wanted the site to be developed this way, because we felt it was a terrible location to put people,
Correct.
particularly people who don't have a big income. You're putting a strain on them to get to work, to get to jobs, to get to school, to get almost anywhere. So that's one of the reasons we think this is a really lousy property to do this, but the court didn't agree with us.
And now also with the situation at Middletown, with them deciding to close 3 schools, where you're going to have 163 units, and they have children and they have to go to school. How are they, if we're maxed out in Nutswam, Thompson, and South, how are you going to provide an education for these children?
That's a question for the planning board hearing.
Well, and it's a question for the Board of Education as well, because they have the ability to change their districts. So this property could be, no, they're not all crowded. The school is not crowded. The school has lost thousands of kids in the last few years. But the point is that some schools are crowded, some schools are very underpopulated. But the problem is the district boundaries have to be adjusted at some point. So, but because this property will be bust, no matter where they go to school, they're going to be bust, right? We can talk to the district about districting them towards a school that can accommodate the kids as opposed to one that's crowded. We've done that before with other developments.
But now what about the people in affordable housing that have to get groceries and they don't have cars?
Yeah, look, we agree that that's
Does
not
the
great
township
education.
provide
No.
service
No.
for them?
And part of the affordable housing, the issues that we had, as Tony mentioned and as Brian mentioned, you're supposed to look for sites that have accessibility to areas that people can get to stores, can get to public transportation. That was part of our argument. And the courts did not see fit to utilize that argument as a reason that this property should not be targeted for it.
Is the developer, Mr. Adani, is he representing any type of organizations that want to live in this particular area?
I don't know. I don't know that answer.
All right.
I've only met this applicant one time, and that was the first time that they presented.
No, I just find it very odd that with the resistance of our township and you guys working a great job trying to keep things in order, and how they're so persistent that they have to have this particular property. I find that very strange. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me just ask one more time, okay? Any other member of the public that hasn't spoken yet that would like to make a public comment? Okay, yeah. Just come up to the microphone.
The Fair Housing Authority, is that a governmental agency?
No, it is a nonprofit organization.
And I understand that it's supported by all of the big builders in the state of New Jersey. So they obviously have their hand in the Fair Housing Authority, if you want to call it that.
Okay. How do I approach this?
With the truth.
Well, I don't know who donates to them.
I'm sure it's big builders.
I would probably say you're right, but I don't have any evidence.
So isn't that a conflict of interest then? And we all know where this property came from and who it went to and how it got sold. Everybody knows that already. Okay. So this Fair Housing Authority.
It's not an authority because it's not a government agency. It's a nonprofit.
Nonprofit. This agency, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Opened up bidding or went public with it.
Yep.
From what I understand, opened up an auction and Adoni.
No. Fair Share doesn't handle any of like the real estate transactions.
No, but they found people to buy it.
That is incredibly possible.
They did.
Sure.
Okay, so to me, that's a conflict of interest. What can be done about that? Probably nothing.
The municipalities have raised this argument many times. I said it in an op-ed in 2019. I think that is part of the issue here. I think that we have a nonprofit organization that has never once walked through the township of Middletown. They probably couldn't even point to Middletown on a map. And yet they get to decide and dictate to the state of New Jersey what they think and by what number and what sites should be and need to be targeted for development.
Yeah.
This township committee, as many of you know, has made it a priority. And last year being our single biggest year in terms of open space acquisitions, including the attempt to try and purchase this one for the preservation of open space. It is incredibly disheartening, the fact that the state Supreme Court not only denied our appeal to them, but the fact that we continue to go down this rabbit hole that no municipality is ever going to be able to fight their way out of while preserving the character of the township. It's unfair, and I am so freaking sick and tired of someone that has never come to this town to tell us what we should be doing. I am so goddamn tired of people constantly dictating to this township and to all 564 municipalities what it is they should be doing. There is no input from us. There is no conference calls. There is not a damn thing that they do and say, hey, can we talk about affordable housing and where it works in Middletown? No, they don't do that. They come out there and they say, here's your number, go find it. And you know what? 444 municipalities in the last round came out, and Fair Share Housing comes out and says, wow, look at this. 444 of the 564 municipalities have submitted a housing plan. Wow, this must be really working. A couple months goes by. Fair Share filed a lawsuit against 444 municipalities saying they aren't doing enough. You are never going to satisfy them. Every 10 years, the goalpost is going to be moved and moved and moved. And despite what varsity kicker you have on your team, you are never going to get that extra point because you're never going to satisfy them. And I have dealt with this for 9 years now, and I am so damn tired of dealing with this for people who get to pick and choose where they want to put it, because I can guarantee you one thing, it's not where the people that are advocating this live. It's where they don't want it to go, where the people that are signing bills and passing this legislation, it's not going by their house.
No. But it's also an NIMBY thing too. Nobody wants it in their backyard.
It is, but you know what? It's about damn time that the state of New Jersey gets its act together and starts doing something to preserve this. We're already the most
Get rid of liberal judges.
we're
We're
already the most densely populated state in the nation, and it's only going to get worse because we constantly sit here and every single governor, legislator passes the buck and shoves a new piece of legislation right up ours.
And I have one more question, but
I'll try and keep it PG for our two young ladies that were speaking.
It pertains
If you want to talk to me afterwards, I'll give you a whole lot more.
The question I have pertains sort of to the construction, not of the actual parcel of land, but how do they get the heavy equipment down that little street?
How are you going to get it across 3 culverts that go across the road?
You're looking at a couple 100,000 pounds of equipment traveling over those tiny little bridges.
It's not even the trucks as they're empty coming down the road. It's the trucks when they're full of dirt.
Or
that's a question.
Bulldozer down the road.
That's a question that the planning board's going to have to answer.
All right.
Roy, did you want to come back up? I know you raised your hand a couple times.
You know, I guess, Roy Jennings,
There
I
you go.
guess at the end of the day, it's the judges, right? The judges don't listen to you guys. They basically tell you to go to hell.
I'm not going to comment on the judges.
Well, how do we, the people, get to the judges? Make them come and look at the property.
I'm going to give this real simple. Every 4 years, you get the opportunity to vote for a governor. Every 2 years, you get an opportunity to vote for members of the assembly. Every 4 years, 2 years, you get to vote for the state senate. Start demanding that they address affordable housing in the state of New Jersey. They love to sit there and talk about how they're making the state more affordable. Yeah, tell me how. Tell me how. Stop passing every single piece of legislation that comes down and says, you got to measure this tree, you got to measure that, I need to know how much water comes onto the leaves that we collect. All of you probably don't know this. They passed a piece of legislation a couple years back. They wanted us to measure how much rainwater after we pick up your leaves And people come to me, oh, I'd love for an additional leaf pickup. Okay, that's great. We now have to pay to measure and calculate when we collect your leaves and we hold them, right? Because at the old airport out at Port Belfort, that's where all your leaves go at the composting site. Okay, and we take your leaves, we cut them, we cultivate them, we turn them into the compost that you all can pick up at Canes Lane anytime, right, Ted? All right. So we take that.
Yeah.
They wanted us to measure how much rainwater dropped onto these leaves. For what is my question? Who cares? Who cares? Why can't we do a second leaf pickup? Because we're spending money calculating how much rainwater drops on them.
Who's mandating that?
Trenton. The people under the big gold dome. So and by the way, they work at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't all of you are working when they're operating. So what's my message? My message is this. Every 4 years, you can't go away and think that someone else's vote. Your vote matters.
Yeah, but
And
we can't vote the judges in, right? The judges are
Right.
handpicked.
But judges are appointed. Judges are appointed by the governor with the advice and consent of the Senate.
Yeah, and it's, it's Democrat. I mean, what chance? We don't have a chance. We don't have a chance.
Because 4 years ago, 50,000 people sat at home and didn't vote, and that was the difference in an election.
Not on my behalf.
I'm not
I
saying
did the right thing.
I'm not saying you, Roy.
I
But
know.
what I'm saying is, if you're sick and tired of this, realize it. And on election day, get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. Get out there and vote.
So it's going to be a bad next 4 years.
Well, today's day one. We'll see how day two goes.
Mikey's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah. Well, I went off the ordinance, so I'm sorry, Heidi. I stood on my soapbox. Any other members of the, are you done? Is that it, Roy? All right. Yes, sir. Come on up.
Jack Leary again. Is the county involved at all? I know Everett Road is a county highway.
They'll have to weigh in.
So that would be like the
County engineer.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a ton, but they will. Because it doesn't exit onto there.
Were they involved at all in the lawsuit or the settlement?
No, because counties aren't subject to builder's remedy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other member? Okay, Roy Jennings, West Nut Swamp just made that comment. The county will have a part to play, but they will not. It really doesn't fall into their hands. They can provide comments though. Any other member of the public? You have to come up to the mic, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Just state your name, Frank.
Frank Gerard Godlewski. Do you have any idea of a scenario of what will happen? Because it's hard to explain to the public too and give us an idea. Do you have any idea what would happen if the developers won a developer remedy lawsuit for that site? I mean, it could be a nightmare. They could build high rises.
They did. That's what they did.
That's why we're here.
I mean, it's ridiculous what they can get away with. They can build a whole town with if they win the developer's remedy lawsuit.
That's what we just went through.
That's the whole. I'm not even going to look at my CFO right now. But the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, professionals, when I say hundreds of thousands, I'm not even scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So when people ask what are we fighting for, I'll take the fight all day. I'm okay spending hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting these ridiculous developments. I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that there's not enough money to bleed these people dry.
No, I know. They're billionaires, the ones that are the developers. That's what happened in West Orange. But do you have instances or any records of the developers wiggling out of their affordable housing percentage? Because it happens all the time.
It's not developers, oh, you mean like on non-affordable?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know that number, Brian.
because
They're not allowed to.
they do.
They have to do 20%.
They have to, whatever's in the agreement or whatever's in our ordinance is, in this case, is 20%. They really can't get out of that.
In a builder's remedy.
In your in Middletown, because it happens a lot.
Just not building the affordable units,
Yeah, they wiggle out of the percentage.
I would say that's very, very rare.
And do you have any kind of program that, for example, repurposing, falling apart houses in neighborhoods?
We do that quite a bit. We utilize our Affordable Housing Trust Fund to make upgrades to income eligible individuals that need upgrades. Oftentimes, if a house comes on the market, we will partner with Habitat for Humanity and we will foreclose on a unit perhaps, and then we donate it to Habitat. They just finished a house, Habitat for Humanity just finished a house in Ideal Beach in North Middletown. They just did that. We love that.
I think you're doing an excellent
We love
job.
that mechanism.
Right.
Partnering with community options for those with developmental disabilities. We will partner with them to take a single family house, and you can put 3 and 4 beds, because if you do it for an individual with developmental disabilities, you get a credit for every bed rather than every unit. So those are options that we've taken full advantage of to be able to try and get closer to these numbers that the state requires.
I think that's the best way to do affordable housing. I think that the area in need of redevelopment legislation, that's such a joke. It leads to this ridiculous affordable housing requirement that doesn't help people in need. It just helps the developer.
Well, it depends on how you do your redevelopment plan. We've used it to our advantage to get affordable housing built. So there's ways to do it. If you do it right, it can be beneficial.
Well, I've only seen, nothing I've seen here, there's nothing out of place. It looks really good. But also, I think that just when I see the people that actually live in affordable housing units, you really don't tell the difference between the other people. People shouldn't be afraid. They should be afraid of the legislation and the developers and not the people.
Absolutely. Any other member of the public wishing to make a public comment? I don't.
Not even close. No. 2 and 3 and 4 bedrooms, correct?
Either you're gonna have to come up to the microphone, but the answer to your question is no.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
State your name again.
Joe Siclari.
All right.
Okay.
The 4th time.
Third. Well, one from.
No, the 4th time you'll get it right.
Do we have any idea of what the marketable price will be on the 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units?
So there are regulations governing what the prices are. They will be restricted prices.
On
But it won't be possible for us to know that until they're developed.
But the
until they're for
restricted
sale.
prices should only be on the affordable.
Yeah,
housing.
only on the affordables.
They're
yeah.
only 1 bedroom units.
Well, they have to have a split. So the law requires that there be a split of 1s, 2s, and so you can only do a certain number. Roughly a third have to be 3 bedrooms, roughly a
Even
third have
for
to be.
affordables?
Yes, for affordable.
Oh.
This is only for the affordable. The restrictions are on the affordables setting you have to apportion them. For a certain number have to be available to certain income levels and a certain number of bedrooms.
Okay.
The pricing, it's all going to be determined, but we don't know, one, if they'll actually get developed. They have to get through the site plan process, and then if they get through that, then it's probably a couple more years of permitting and things. So, if they came in tomorrow with the site plan, hypothetically, it would still be a number of years before those units would be on the market. And then the pricing would be set. The DCA puts out ranges of pricing based on the region that they're in. and then that will be the restricted price. But that will be determined at the time they're on the market, because obviously that changes over time.
Yeah.
And along with the income levels for the people that apply. The larger family units, the incomes can actually be in the six-figure range on the larger family units. But then some of the lower income units, will have lower incomes. But they obviously have to be people that, in this instance, can qualify for a mortgage, and so forth. So they typically have, but they still have to fit within those income ranges.
But I thought the affordables were rentals.
No, they're
No,
no,
purchase.
they're
No,
not.
for
All
sale.
these units are for.
Everything, the whole entire place
Yeah,
would be purchased.
Correct.
And they're designed, these are inclusionary units, so they're intermixed within the development, so you're not going to be able to distinguish, unless you're really, looking carefully, the affordable units from the regular market
Well, they
units.
have a garage.
So that will be the only real
Indicated.
distinguishing factor, yeah.
Any other member of the public? Okay, seeing no other member of the public stepping forward. I just want, before I make the motion to approve, I just want to thank all of you. I think this was a very good conversation, and I appreciate that. I hope all of you will show up to the planning board meetings to voice those questions, comments, and feedback. As I mentioned, because there's no application, I can't even have seen this proposed full site plan. But the risk that you run at not being in compliance with this, I think, is far greater. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Committeewoman Kratz,
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on second and final reading. At this time, we have introduction of proposed ordinances. Our first ordinance, 2026-3492, an ordinance of the Township of Middletown, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, authorizing purchase of Block 67, Lot 7.01 from the Middletown First Aid Squad for $224,000.
Yeah. Motion to introduce, and I just want to say before we get a second, that this is exactly what we were just talking about. This is a property that we're donating to Habitat for Humanity. This is the exact thing that we should be doing. Motion to introduce.
Second.
Seconded by Committeeman Sedambrino.
Committeewoman Kratz.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held February 2nd, 2026. At this time, we have ordinance 2026-3493, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of deed of utilities easement upon a portion of Block 805, Lot 72, at the address of 1264 Highway 35.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Committeewoman Kratz.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held February 2nd, 2026. At this time, we have ordinance for introduction 2026-3494, a bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $775,000 for the acquisition of easements for the Port Monmouth Flood Control Project by and for the Township of Middletown in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $736,250 of bonds or notes of the township for financing part of the appropriation.
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Committeewoman Kratz.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to pass this ordinance on first reading with a public hearing to be held February 2nd, 2026. At this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to adopt a consent agenda, which would include resolutions 26-56 through 26-68 and include firefighter application.
Just want to make sure 67 got on there, Ted, right? For the rock salt?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Because there's this giant storm that's coming, so I just wanted to make sure. No, it's not. Okay. Knock on wood. Yeah. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Committeewoman Kratz.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes.
Motion carries to stop the storm. At this time, we have Township Committee comments.
All right, Committeeman Sedambrino?
No comments this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, Committeewoman Kratz.
I'm going to hold my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, I just want to thank all the residents that came out here. I think this was a great discussion. And I appreciate the fact that so many folks understand and know the issue at hand. And I just want to thank them for the folks that I've talked to on site, on the phone. I think it was a very good conversation. I want to thank them for that. With that, I'll open up for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to make a public comment may do so. We ask that you state your name and keep your comments to 5 minutes. At 4 minutes, Heidi will let you know that you have 1 minute remaining because she doesn't trust me anymore.
Nope.
All right. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Martin Donahue, 152 Heights Terrace. I'm on the Environmental
Yes, sir.
Commission. I think you know. We've been looking at some development in Homedale, the Vonage site. And one of the things we're kind of looking at that's giving us concern is they're talking about restarting a wastewater treatment plant.
Yes.
And that discharges into a stream that
Yes.
goes to the reservoir. All right.
Yep.
So I'm looking to support the Homedale Environmental Commission, Citizens for Informed Land Use and everything. So I just wanted to kind of make that statement. And again, right now, I don't know exactly where we're going with it. We've communicated a little bit with the NJDEP case person for the pollution, for the Gypsies permit, but just letting you know, and again, and I don't know if this impacts Homedale, they being an intervener in this case or whatever, is the relationship between Homedale and Middletown pretty good about fighting some of these things or you know, I don't want to.
I've spoken to Mayor Impreveduto about this now twice.
Excellent. You're aware.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm well aware. Spoke to the mayor, had a very good conversation. We'll continue that dialogue as we go through the process here.
Okay, because I just did a walk. They had their planning board. And again, everything you say about the planning board and all this stuff,
Yep.
yes, every citizen has to get more involved. You're 100% correct with that. But yeah, I just took a walk at the site last Saturday and it's concerning.
Yep.
There may be solutions, but I'm just a little, we're trying to figure out the right path forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Marty, thanks for everything you do on the Environmental Commission. Appreciate it.
I'm retired now, so I may have more work, a little more time.
So we got you full time at $0 a year. All right. Any other member of the public wish to make a public comment? Sure. You can come on up.
I'm excited and upset that we developed, and I can't keep my mouth shut. But anyway, thank you very much for letting me.
Just state your name again.
Oh, Frank Gerard Godlewski, 72 Cranberry Court at Shady Oaks. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak with you and for reviewing my proposal for the Grant Stevenson House. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
And thank you.
We just got it confirmed today that February 3rd at noon is going to be the site visit with the DEP.
Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you. Wow.
I was going to.
I'm getting
Welcome-
goosebumps.
Welcome to attend.
Thank you.
No, they specifically wanted you to be there, so.
Thank you so much.
Told them I'd invite you.
I can't believe how nice it is here. Thank you.
I'm new. Any other member of the public wish to make a public comment? Chiefs, nothing? All right. All right. Seeing no other member of the public stepping forward, move to close the public portion and adjourn. Seconded by Committeeman Sedambrino.
Committeewoman Kratz.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Mayor Perry.
Yes. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you all.